PRIN Saringkarn. So it's that word twice. I think in 2020 he had a fragrance that was just that word used once. So this is an expensive fragrance. I have a sample here, and PRIN Lomos, the perfumer, he has three brands. The less expensive one, I believe, is Stranger Perfumeries. The mid-tier one is Prasanna, and the one that's more expensive is PRIN, which is what this one is. It to me, I don't know much about the brand, but it looks like Stranger Perfumery has like more gourmands. Prasanna's more fresh fragrances, and then PRIN is more on the animalic side. I'm sure the materials, are more expensive in the PRIN line, but the perfumer, from what I've smelled, from the few samples from the brand, from what he's created from zoologists, it seems like he leans heavily on like a dry spices, particularly cumin. It seems like, which it's just not my style overall, but I can see the appeal because he's one of the few brands that one of the few perfumers that does a lot of animalics with high quality ingredients well. I would say his more oud and rose stuff, from what I've smelled, I prefer Bortnikov's oud. But PRIN has more offerings with animalics, it seems like. This is just from what I've noticed and from what I've smelled, so I could be completely wrong. I'm going off like a limited amount of samples here. But here's what I got from this fragrance, just without looking up any notes and just smelling what's on my wrist. I get this dry spiciness. It's hard to identify spices in particular, but if I had to say, I would say cumin, but it's not easily identifiable. It's kind of like the dryness and the essence of the cumin without it smelling like food or anything. Like, it's not overly done, but it's definitely in there a bit, right? I do get this like almost medicinal cherry smell, like some kind of cough syrup vibe in there. That's not my favorite. I get this dustiness, almost some kind of animalic use. I want to say Hyrax, maybe a bit of civet, but I kind of got like a Hyrax, and then like maybe like this dry whiskiness, something like zoologist Hyrax with that whiskey note. I also get like a hotness in here. This would be good to wear in like the winter, fall, and colder days because it's a very hot, dry perfume. And then I got this like smoky birch tar, maybe. I don't want to quite go straight smoke or leather, but saffron, but it has something like that in there. Definitely like this birch tar. As it dries down, yeah, it kind of reminds me of zoologist Hyrax. Kind of reminds me of some Bortnikovs too. Like Bortnikov's Triad. I like that one better than this. I think that's an excellent Hyrax rose fragrance. Anyways, it dries down, I kind of get this rosy effect. And it does seem like there's kind of like a Thai oud used in there. I didn't list it down immediately, but it has that structure. Like Thai oud to me is not as dominant as something like Indian oud, but yeah, it has like an oud effect, but it's not too much. Like, it's not like, oh yeah, that's an oud fragrance. I would say this is a spicy animalic fragrance, spicy birch tar. But the actual notes listed are damask rose, rose de mai. Says on Fragrantica Trat Oud. On Lucky Scent it says oud from Thailand. I don't know if those are the same. I don't know if Trat Oud's Trinidadian, but on Lucky Scent they put oud from Thailand. I think PRIN's website too. Cacao, plum, saffron, jasmine, leather, amber, tobacco, and champaca. So just looking at those notes, yeah, I get tobacco. For some reason, I never pick tobacco, but then when I see it's in a fragrance, I'm like, oh yeah, there's tobacco. So yeah, leather, saffron, those are probably in there. I think there's some birch tar not listed in here. I also like, maybe I'm picking up leather and tobacco, but there's some kind of spice in here. There's some kind of animalic aspect too, in my opinion. The fragrance is expensive. It's $260 for a 30 ml, so that works out to about $866 for a 100 ml. Pricey fragrance, right? Yeah, it's pricey, but it's hard to find high quality ingredients with real rose, real ooze, real animalics. So considering that, fair, I suppose. Too expensive for me to purchase, probably. If I really like something from the brand, I would consider it. One thing with this brand, they have a lot of offerings, so before I would commit to something I like, I would probably want to sample a lot of them. Fragrances that remind me of, I kind of get Rogue Perfumery's Restracto. I think that one's more rose dominant. I think I prefer Restracto a little bit more. Kind of has that old dusty house, but Restracto is more rosy, less spicy maybe. But yeah, there's similarities. Also get some MFK's Absolute Pour Le Soir a little bit in here. Almost like there could be a beeswax in here. Of course, Absolute Pour Le Soir is more woody, definitely more beeswax, honey-like. But I don't know, I kind of get some similarities in this. I will say the dry down's different on this. You kind of get the effect of cacao and rose and with spices mixed in, but it's never like fully identified as like a massive rose and massive ooze. It's yeah, it's like this. It's like a rose oud, but without being like every other rose oud. It's kind of like the effect, and then the rose is smoothed out by the chocolate, spicy nuances, tobacco nuances, jasmine nuances. But overall, good fragrance. I think there's others that are similar that I prefer over this, but I do think it's a good offering from PRIN. I'll probably try more in the future. I think this was like a free sample that Lucky Saint gave me, but yeah, I'd probably try more from PRIN. I've always wanted to try them. There's a little bit of controversy. I remember another brand owner, I think Shuga, I think his name's James, the owner. I don't know, but I remember he didn't directly say it, but he said there's brands out there that used to use natural animalics and now they don't. I think he was referring to PRIN. Can't be for certain. I've also heard somebody say PRIN makes a fragrance or like brags about making them in 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. So, and he has a lot of offerings. So it's like, how much time and detail does he put into the brand? But hey, maybe he's just talented. Like I always say, I wish like a classically trained French perfumer would use these ingredients. Like a brand like PRIN would hire a perfumer to use the ingredients and make something. So I think that would be interesting. It would give a different dynamic to the brand instead of just one perfumer's take. But regardless, I think PRIN's fragrances from what I've tried are good. I just think they lean a little spicy, a little too much on the cumin for my personal taste from what I've tried. Maybe not all fragrances from that he makes are like that. I'm sure they're not. But yeah, let me know if there's any PRIN, Persona, Stranger Perfumery fragrances that you think I should try, because I'm definitely interested in the brands. I have been for many years actually. But yeah, that's about it. PRIN's Saringkarn Saringkarn. Let me know what you think.